Everybody, and welcome back to the Blender for Beginners course. In today's video we're going to go over materials and rendering. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So starting off where we left off from last time, we have our little mini guy here. To make our changes permanent, we're going to go over to our modifier stack and we're just going to hit Control A over everything, and that basically gives us permanent geometry here that we can work with. We're basically going to be using this guy for the rest of the series here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to move him up on the in edit mode. Make sure you're in edit mode, and we're going to hit G and Z. We're going to move him up so that his feet are touching the floor. We're going to go back into solid view. We're also going to hit W and hit shade smooth, and we're also going to select those and change the shape of his head. So in edit mode, we're just going to make a few edits here. Click this X button and that'll turn on a nerfed version of mirror modifier, so you're not adding a modifier or anything, but you do have access to the mirror functionality. Just make this editing process a bit faster. There we go. I like that head shape a bit more. So in order to add a material like we did before, you just go to your material tab here and you click new, and now we have a new material. To name this material, you can either double click up here or you can just click in here. We're just gonna call this character color. Ooh. To change the color, you go to your base color here and you can change it blue. However, you see nothing's changed in here, and that's because we are in our viewport shading mode. You can view the material color if you change to the viewport shading mode. Now you see we have our material color here. You can also view it in the render view. However, we don't have any lighting set up, so we'll just do that now because we're also covering rendering. So usually when you're making a render, you want to have a 3-point light set up: a point light, a fill light, and a backlight. And these all have different functionalities. The backlight is essentially to make sure that there's no absolute dark in your render. So we're going to turn this power down to about 100, and we're going to turn off the shadow and the specular. Same thing for the fill light. And we're going to turn this power down to 350. Also, what I like to do is change the colors here. So I like this one to be red. I like this one to be blue, and I like this one to be green. Although we can play with that, so maybe we can make this one the green one, this one the red one, and because our character's already blue, we can kind of just leave it that way. And then we can change this to a sunlight and turn it down to like 10. And we can change the direction of the sunlight by rotating it on the Z axis so that it's facing our character. And for this fill light, we can turn up the wattage a bit more so that it's a bit more visible. And maybe we can cut the specular up as well. And there you have it. So for your actual material, you can go to the shading tab here, and you want to go back to your lighting setup. we can change the actual material down here in our node editor. So every material you make comes standard with the principled shader. There are a couple different shaders, but we're just going to stick with this one. And in here you can change the color. You can also change a bunch of other things. You can change the specular, how shiny or how not shiny is it. You can change the metallic nature of it. So is it a metal or is it not? You can change how rough the material is. So the specular will be sharper if there's little roughness, almost like a car, and it'll be more distributed like organic object like clothing or something like that if it's a bit more rough. And there are a bunch of different options down here that don't really mean a whole lot. All you need to know is how to manipulate those basic things in order to get this result here. Once you have your material, all you need to do from here, if you want to take a snapshot of your character, you hit 0, go to your camera. You want to make sure that you center your camera on your character. So you want to hit G and Z, bring this up. So now our camera is looking directly at our character here. And in order to take a snapshot of our character, we need to hit F12. And as you can see, we now have a picture of our character. And then we can go to image. Well, you actually might not be able to see because of my recording settings. However, you should get a picture of your character, and you can go to where it says image and click save as, and you can save it wherever you want to save your image. Or to make your life a bit easier, you have now actually this is actually for animations. So you have to save your individual image renders, you know, on an individual basis, because if you don't save it, you'll lose the image. However, for animations, let's say we have our character moving, so we're going to start him. We're going to go back to our layout. We're going to go to frame 1, and we're going to hit G and Y. We're going to move him back a little bit. Hit I, location, rotation, scale. And we're going to go up to frame 50, and then we'll have the end be at frame 50, and we want him to right. So we want to start at 1. Want to start at 1. We want our actual frame to be at 50. Here we go. And then we move it forward. Eye, location, rotation, scale. Go back to the camera view, and instead of F12, we're just going to go to render and render animation, which is Control F12. And that'll render out your animation. However, if you want to specify exactly where you want your rendered animation to go, you want to go to your output settings here in the output properties, go to the folder next to temp, and make sure you find where you want to actually save your render. You can save it as a PNG sequence, a JPEG sequence, a TIFF sequence, or you can save it as actual video files. For the sake of this, I'm just going to save it as a AVI JPEG. And once again, we can hit Control F12. And now, if you were to look for your animation here, you should see it pop up right here. So that is how you make materials and render. Thank you for watching this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we're going to go over UV editing. So I'll see you then. Have a good one.